And welcome everyone to this webinar where we're going to discuss updates to your municipal procurement policies to include a wide range of environmentally preferable products, or EPPs. If you hear us mention EPP throughout the webinar, that's what we're talking about. My name is Kathy Mirza, and I'm the branch chief for municipal waste reduction programs for MassDEP. And I'm joined today by Becky from my team at MassDEP, and also Agnes from the state's Operational Services Division, or OSD. They oversee the state contracts, and we're going to learn quite a bit about those today. As you know, the webinar is being recorded, and we plan to post it on our SMRP website within a couple of days or so. We ask that during the webinar, if you have questions or comments, to please put them in the chat box, and we will reserve time at the end to address all of those. In today's webinar, you're going to hear how to develop a much more robust and comprehensive municipal procurement policy. And as many of you may know, that's going to be a requirement for our Sustainable Materials Recovery Program grant next year in 2026. So we're doing this now to give communities a substantial amount of lead time to think about this and go through the steps so that you can update that procurement policy. You're also going to have the opportunity to gain a deeper understanding about the environmentally preferable products that are available to cities and towns across the state through our state contracts that are overseen by OSD. But before we dive in, I wanted to acknowledge first all of the important work that all of you are doing on the municipal level to recycle effectively. And you also develop new programs and policies that benefit your residents and the environment as well. We all partner together in this work, and we really are grateful for all that you do in your program development. I also wanted to just take a few moments to underscore why a strong procurement policy matters so much and how it supports our waste reduction efforts. So next slide, please, Rachel. So procurement decisions are really key because they can create more waste or they can support waste reduction. The choice is in your hands when you make those purchases. Your choices can determine what happens next, whether the product becomes trash or not, whether it's single use or not, whether it's hazardous or not, whether it's reusable or not, because everything we buy will become a waste eventually. So it's really important to make our purchases wisely and think about that as we do it. So what this slide is showing is that we're throwing away millions of tons each year of materials that have value. This pie chart reflects the waste characterization studies that are conducted in Massachusetts at our waste combustors, and this reflects our 2022 studies 3 years ago. So in our trash, we commonly find our recyclables, which add up to about 40% of what is still thrown away as trash. And we also find a tremendous amount of food material, which is about 21% of what we still throw away as trash. In recent years, more than 1 million tons annually is disposed of out of state because we have reached our capacity limits. Okay, we have substantial constraints here. So we have a very big challenge to address. So how does this relate to environmentally preferable products and procurement? Well, we want to employ all the tools we have to reduce waste first, before the stuff we buy becomes something that we have to manage in the waste stream later. And we know that sound procurement policies can enable more reuse, more procurement of products that are made with high levels of post-consumer recycled content. So that's what we're all collecting in our recycling programs that gets directed to MRFs and made into new products and packaging. Sound procurement policies also mean less packaging as well. So did you know that nearly all common recyclables have a positive commodity value? That means that clean, properly prepared materials are in demand by manufacturers who make new products and packaging from these materials that we collect in our programs. We want to buy these products so we can support the recycling markets and keep them strong. And we also want to see products that have low or no toxicity. Now that's for our health, that's for the environment, and it's to reduce the amount of costly hazardous disposal that will come after we're done using those products. So if we just pause to think about how the products we purchase now will need to be managed when we're done using them, we can make better procurement decisions, reduce our impact on the environment, and again, support these strong recycling markets, which we all need. So I'm going to hand the floor over to Agnes at this point to review some of the opportunities available to all of you through the Operational Services Division and the products and services they have available. Thank you. Next slide.
So thanks so much, Kathy, and good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be here. I'm Agnes Wierzbicki. I'm a coordinator for the Climate and Sustainability Unit at the Operational Services Division, or OSD. For those of you who are not familiar with OSD, with the Procurement Office for the Commonwealth, we establish statewide contracts that pool collective buying power to negotiate better prices, reduce administrative costs, and simplify the purchasing process for all state agencies and other eligible entities, which include municipalities. So as you just heard, MassDEP will be requiring municipalities to adopt an updated purchasing policy in order to remain eligible for certain grant programs. And in my presentation, I want to show you how OSD's Environmentally Preferable Product Purchasing Program, or EPP procurement program, can make implementing that policy so much easier because we've done so much of the work already for you. So the objective of our program is to integrate environmental considerations into our statewide contract so that buyers, who are you guys, have access to a wide range of green products and services under these statewide contracts. So let's take a look at how all of this works. Next slide, please. So here's a quick overview of what I'll cover today. I'll start by defining what environmentally preferable purchasing is and why it matters. Then I'll give you a quick overview of the EPP procurement program here in Massachusetts and the legal framework that supports it. And then I'll walk you through how we integrate environmental criteria into our statewide contracts and what environmentally preferable or green products and services are available under these contracts. And finally, I'll show you where to find products and how to purchase these products through our statewide contracts. Next slide, please. So I just wanted to take a moment to highlight why this topic of environmentally preferable purchasing is so important. I know Kathy already touched upon some of these reasons, but really when we think about public procurement, it's likely not the first thing that would come to mind when you think about like climate action or the environment, but in fact, it's one of the most powerful, impactful, and cost-effective tools we have. It's powerful because governments are among the largest buyers in any economy. So here in Massachusetts, for example, purchases made under our statewide contracts in the last fiscal year exceeded $2.4 billion last year. And this is impactful because this level of spending can really shape entire markets. So when governments choose sustainable options, they send very strong signals that influence the supplier community, influence supplier behavior, and accelerate innovation of green products and services. It's also very cost effective because governments already need to buy goods and services to, just run all the services that governments provide, like schools, hospitals, public buildings, etc. So we're actually not spending more when we're implementing environmentally preferable purchasing. We're just spending in a more thoughtful and strategic way. Next slide, please. So spending more thoughtfully starts with recognizing that the price tag of the product, which is the visible tip of this iceberg image is just really part of the story. Beneath the surface lies the true cost of a product. So these are the environmental and social impacts that are embedded across the life cycle of a product, anything from raw material extraction to manufacturing, transportation, and eventual disposable. So all of these actions have environmental impact. And these hidden consequences are things such as greenhouse gas emissions, resource depletion, water and air pollution, effects on our public health, and so forth. But the good news is that we can really take action. We can do something about this by making more thoughtful purchasing decisions, by selecting products that are less toxic, that are longer lasting, that are more efficient. We can actually reduce those environmental impacts and also drive demand for better alternatives. Next slide, please. So I just wanted to clarify a couple of key terms that keep coming up or will come up during this presentation: sustainable procurement, environmentally preferable procurement, and so forth. So sustainable procurement is the broadest concept. It covers environmental and social economic factors in our purchasing decisions. And within that, we have green procurement or environmentally preferable purchasing, EPP, which focuses specifically on the environmental impact. And an interesting fact is EPP is a term that's actually only used here in the United States. Everywhere around the world, we refer to EPP as green procurement. And within green procurement, we have these different sub areas. So you have low carbon procurement, which targets climate impact. You have circular procurement, which emphasizes reducing waste and reusing materials. And on the social side, we have socially responsible procurement, which includes goals like promoting local industries, supporting small and medium-sized enterprises, advancing opportunities for the disadvantaged groups such as women and minorities. And here in Massachusetts, we actually practice socially responsible procurement through our Supplier Diversity Office, and we practice environmentally preferable procurement. Next slide, please. So in this presentation, sorry, go back one slide. Yeah, so in this presentation, the focus will be on green procurement, environmentally preferable procurement, but I thought it would be useful to kind of understand the general framework of all of this. And also I wanted to mention that while sustainable procurement is meant to be like an all-encompassing term, in practice, it's often used to just refer to one area, like the social area or the environmental area. So if you're practicing EPP, you're also practicing sustainable procurement. Next slide. So I wanted to give you a little bit of a definition of what is EPP. I think the acronym EPP is used both as a verb and as a noun. So as a verb, EPP, or environmentally preferable purchasing, means purchasing goods and services in a way that takes environmental and health considerations into account. And as a noun, EPP is an environmentally preferable product, and it refers to the products and services that have a lesser impact on human health and the environment when compared to conventional products. And essentially, there's no real definition of what environmentally preferable is, but many EPP products and services share certain attributes, and those attributes are listed here on the bottom left. They include things as being recyclable, having recycled content, less toxic, and so forth. And many of these products are in fact certified by third-party organizations and carry eco-labels, which can help you identify them. So here are two: USDA Organic and Energy Star that you're probably very familiar with. But it's also important to note that not all EPP products carry such certifications. For example, battery-powered landscaping equipment doesn't carry an eco-label, but it's a better environmental choice compared to gas-powered alternatives. Next slide, please. So I just really quickly wanted to go over the benefits of EPP. I've kind of grouped these into these three buckets: environmental, socioeconomic, and governance. So environmentally, EPP helps reduce the negative impacts of products and services across their life cycle, and it also drives markets toward the production of greener products. From a socioeconomic perspective, EPP can generate long-term cost savings, especially when we're using energy and water efficient products. It can also support local economies. Many times in our EPP specifications, we want to source locally. And also, given that we consider toxics, it can improve worker health and safety across the supply chain. And under governance, EPP can enhance an organization's public image, it can show leadership, it can also raise awareness among the general public. So there are multiple benefits to implementing environmentally preferable purchasing practices. Next slide, please. So now I just wanted to kind of take a look, shift gears, take a look at the Commonwealth's Environmentally Preferable Products Procurement Program, or EPP procurement program. It's been active for nearly 3 decades. It's managed by the Operational Services Climate and Sustainability Unit, which is the unit that I work in. The main objective of the program is to integrate environmental criteria into our statewide contracts. And our contracts really focus on goods and works, not construction, with exemptions for projects valued under $50,000. And today, more than half of our statewide contracts, I believe it's around 67 out of 100 plus contracts, include environmental criteria. So that means that there's a wide range of environmentally preferable products and services available under statewide contracts. And the impact of our program is very significant. The EPP purchases, so the purchases of environmentally preferable products and services under a statewide contract, have grown from 5 million in 1994, which was the start of our program, to over 409 million in 2024. And I think that's an increase of like 8,000%. And currently, EPP purchases under our contracts represent a fifth of all, so 20% of all purchases. So it's actually very significant, and it's just growing. And the program's outcomes, from cost and energy savings to waste diversion, greenhouse gas emissions reductions, and so forth, we track them at OSD through our unit. We track them and we publish them annually in our EPP procurement program annual reports, which are available online. So the program is not only well established and growing, it's also delivering measurable environmental and economic value. Next slide, please. So just really quickly, here, I just want to go over the legal framework for EPP in the Commonwealth. So in Massachusetts, EPP is not just a best practice, it's actually supported by state law and policy. EPP was formally integrated into the procurement regulation in 1997, and it was further strengthened in 2009 with the issuance of Executive Order 515, which established the state's first EPP policy. And Executive Order 515 designated OSD as the lead agency for managing the program. And also, very importantly, it introduced a purchasing mandate. It requires executive agencies to purchase environmentally preferable products and services when they're available, effective, and offer best value. Next slide, please. So at the core of our EPP procurement program is integrating environmental and climate considerations into statewide procurement. And we integrate these considerations into our contracts in 2 main ways. So the first pathway is by looking at the product itself. So we develop environmental criteria that is included and integrated into the technical specifications. And this environmental criteria might touch upon certain attributes like recycled content, energy efficiency, low toxicity, and so forth. And secondly, we go beyond just looking at the product. We also look at our vendor or supplier sustainability using our climate and environmental practices form. This is our vendor sustainability assessment questionnaire, which is Excel-based. It is included in all of our statewide contract bid packages, and it gives us insight into the sustainability performance of our vendors or our suppliers across their facilities and operations. So this ensures that environmentally preferable products and services are not only available under statewide contracts, but also they're being offered by companies that have good sustainable business practices. Next slide, please. So finally, you're probably wondering about the types of environmentally preferable products and services that we have available under our contracts. As I mentioned earlier, more than half of our statewide contracts include specifications for environmentally preferable products and services. We have, of our vendor community, almost half of our vendors offer environmentally preferable products and services. And we have been able to identify that we have products, environmentally products, across 44 different product categories. We also have 31 different categories of EPP services. And essentially, we have over thousands of environmentally preferable products and services. When you go down into these, like drill down into these categories and look at the products, there's so many products that are being offered under our statewide contracts. And what's really important to communicate that if you buy off of these contracts, you can meet and you can implement your policy in a very kind of efficient manner because we've done a lot of the work for you. Next slide, please. So if you're new to all of this, you might be wondering, like, where's a good starting point? So I've kind of listed out some of the quick wins. These are the low hanging fruit. And these are the items that are widely used. They're readily available on statewide contracts, and they typically offer very clear environmental benefits without compromising on price, availability, or performance. And these products are office supplies and papers, lighting products, cleaning supplies, janitorial services, IT equipment, electronics, and foodware. And I've listed for you what our approach is in terms of the environmental criteria for each of these product and service categories and why it's considered low hanging. And then when you receive this presentation a little bit later, I've included the direct link to our statewide contract where you can make purchases for these product and services. Next slide, please. So how do you find EPP products on our statewide contracts? So a good starting point is the EPP Products and Services Guide. It lists all the available EPP categories, both the product categories and the service categories, and it provides a direct link to the relevant contract user guides. The contract user guides are your go-to reference. They explain what's on contract, who the vendors are, how to make a purchase, and if a contract includes environmental specifications, you'll find a designated EPP section within that document that provides an overview of the EPP products and services offered under that contract. But if you're looking for a little bit more detail, like the exact environmental criteria that we've used, you can look at our request for response, RFR document, which is available on Combis, and I believe it's also linked within the contract user guide. And that's where we have the technical specifications that would include the environmental criteria. So you're welcome to also look at that and reuse that language if you want to issue your own solicitation. Next slide, please. So on this slide, you'll see like just many different eco labels. Some of them you might already be familiar with. These are the various eco labels, not all of them. This is some of the eco labels that we reference in our contracts. And we often reference eco labels in our environmental criteria instead of writing out the lengthy technical specifications because they already represent strong vetted standards. but also it's very important for us, for whatever product we offer under our statewide contracts, for you guys as the buyers to be able to verify those products. So eco-labels provide a means of verification. So you know that if the product carries the eco-label, it has met the standards that have been set out in the contract. Next slide, please. So just a quick summary of my presentation. These are kind of the main takeaways. The first is, I can't reiterate this enough, environmentally preferable purchasing, public procurement is very powerful, it's impactful, and most importantly, it's also very cost effective for taking climate action. Massachusetts statewide contracts make compliance for this new updated policy requirement so much easier for all of you guys because we've done the hard work for you. We've already created the environmental criteria, we've developed the technical specifications, we've vetted the vendors and suppliers. So all you need to do is just purchase off of the statewide contracts that include environmental specifications. Our EPP program is robust and well established. It's one of the leading programs within the United States. It's also known internationally. And we have a wide range of EPP products and services that are readily available under our statewide contracts. And also at OSD, we provide various tools and support that is available to all of you, including our local government enablement team that works directly with municipalities. And if you have any issues, you can also contact our help desk. So we're here really to help you and support you. Next slide, please. So just to wrap up, here are some useful links where you can learn a little bit more. I have a hyperlink to our EPP procurement program webpage. Also, you'll see a link to the EPP products and services guide, which is a great starting point for exploring the types of products and services, environmentally preferable products and services that we have under our statewide contracts. I also provided a link to some more in-depth information on various environmental topics. And also I have a link to the Climate Environmental Practices Forum. That is our supplier sustainability assessment tool, that if you're doing your own solicitation and if you wanted to take into account supplier sustainability, you're more than welcome to use our assessment tool. And finally, a link to the EPP annual report. I also wanted to share the exciting news that our unit is launching a new initiative called CLIMB. It's Climate Leaders in Municipal Purchasing. This group aims to work together with municipalities to align their purchasing with sustainability goals, shape future contracts, statewide contracts, so we get a little bit feedback from you guys in terms of the types of environmentally preferable products and services you want to see on contracts. You'll also have an opportunity to discover some of our sustainable products and learn from peers. And I believe the first meeting is originally it was scheduled for September 18th, but I think there might be some conflict there. So it might be a little bit further into September, but we will definitely share more information about this very exciting group that we're launching with all of you guys. And I'll reach out to Kathy and the MassDEP team so that all of that information can be disseminated to all of you guys. So if you have any questions or comments, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. Here to help and support you in your sustainable purchasing journey. Next slide, please. So thank you so much. Just wanted to leave you with a quick quote. This is from a sustainable purchasing advocate. You might have heard it before. Every time you spend money, you're casting a vote for the kind of world you want. Thank you, everyone. And back to you, Kathy.
Hi, great. Thank you so much, Agnes. That was fabulous. And I think some questions are already coming into the chat, but we'll get to those after Becky shares a bit about the specifics of the procurement policy changes that we aim to see going forward. So Becky, I will hand that over to you.
Great. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Agnes. That was great. I look forward to hearing about the CLIMB group in September. So again, I'm Becky. I'm a planner with MassDEP's Municipal Waste Reduction Branch. And as you know, we've been requiring municipalities to have buy-recycled policies on record. And in order to be eligible for our Sustainable Materials Recovery Program and Recycling Dividends Program, to send out annual reminders to staff about that policy. Some of these policies are old, and some of them are just sort of mention buying office paper with recycled content, but nothing more. So we know that meeting the waste reduction goals of the state's solid waste master plan and reducing waste overall is going to require a broader range of activities. So because of all of the things that Kathy and Agnes talked about, and as you've already heard, we'll be requiring municipalities to update their policies and adopt a broader EPP or sustainable purchasing policy for the 2026 grants. And hopefully by holding this webinar now, it will give you plenty of time to do that. So in the next few minutes, I will walk us through a template that we've created that you can use for your municipal policy. I'll also review what we'll be looking for in your new policies and where you can find additional guidance. We really tried to develop something that would be reasonable for municipalities to pass, but would also be impactful, especially if it was implemented statewide. So just to dig into it, here's the template we created. I'm just going to read through it, and I'll identify the pieces of it that will be required in order to fill the SMRP and RDP requirements in 2026. And then we'll look at some additional optional language that you can include. And so here's the first part of the template. And just to read through it a little bit, your city or town recognizes that procurement decisions of our employees and contractors have significant impacts on the environment. And the purpose of this document is to establish the framework for sustainability-based purchasing program. The objectives are to minimize waste, prioritize reuse, support recycling markets, conserve natural resources, and minimize environmental impacts. So I feel like that's all pretty basic. A lot of that language is already in a lot of buy recycled policies. The next section of our template really is about the actions related to those goals. So it's a bit more of the meat of the policy, and I'll just go through these bullets sort of one by one. The first bullet, which is obviously to purchase products and services offered through the Operational Service Division's Environmentally Preferable Products and Services program. So everything that Agnes just talked about, it's the easiest thing to do. Your city or town are making purchases every single day, all year long, and a lot of those products can be found through EPP contracts. Agnes and her team have done the heavy lifting here. And by doing this, it will really help us meet our goals of waste reduction throughout the state. And I just want to point out that there are so many, like Agnes was saying, so many things that you're doing, like tree trimming services, janitorial supplies, fleet management services, all these products are there. The second bullet point here is really about reducing waste at the source and can really be tackled by creating habits of reuse within your municipality and making sure that you explore options before just throwing away items, goods, and materials that could have another life or could be used by someone else. So it's the bullet point just says prioritizing donation and reuse before disposal. And the third bullet point is getting back to those buy recycled policies. We all put so much effort into recycling and our recycling programs. It's just as important that we support the markets for using that recycled material. Again, this is already kind of baked into the EPP purchasing, but it's worth sort of calling out separately in your policy. We have a reference here for the federal guidelines, but you could also use language about, you'll commit to having a certain percent of post-consumer recycled content in your paper and office supplies. And then finally, we added a bullet down here that's also just really about upstream, minimizing waste in the beginning. Can your town reduce the number of single-use plastic water bottles you're purchasing for events? Or can the local council on aging or school use reusable dishware for their meal service? And so that's really it. That's the template that we've created. Again, we hope that it's achievable. We hope that it could be impactful, but we really also hope that your city or town will embrace the idea of sort of the power of your purchasing and flex those muscles, and understand that making really deliberate procurement decisions does not necessarily mean spending more money or sacrificing quality. And here are just some examples of other points you could consider including in your policy. To minimize waste, your municipality could consider banning single-use water bottles. Bedford, I believe, just passed a policy last year that outlines a specific procedure or protocol for finding opportunities for reusing goods and equipment before it's thrown away, which I think is great. You could also include food waste programs in your new policy. In terms of supporting recycling markets, you could really call out requiring recycling in municipal and school buildings. You could also call out that all your contracts will include some language about using recycled materials. So I know there's one policy I looked at recently that had road construction contracts would specify that the material used would have recycled content. To minimize environmental impacts, you could call out specific third-party certifications. You could also mention OSD's PFAS-free buying guide. Again, Agnes and all of her friends over there have done the work for you. They created this PFAS-free buying guide in response to municipalities coming to them asking how to identify products with reduced or no PFAS. So that guide is out there for you to use. And then to conserve natural resources, your policy could note energy reduction programs. I believe it's Boston has a policy that talks about sustainable landscape practices, like using drip irrigation and compost. And then also, if you're a green community, you could reference the Green Communities Guidance for the purchase of energy efficient vehicles. So there's just so much to dig into. And then I also just really want to note that many of you out there have RDP funds available to spend, and that the list of approved spending categories includes items that are on EPP contracts. Agnes pointed some of these out earlier in her slides, and here are just some more examples of those contracts and links to those contracts. We really encourage you to spend those dollars. You worked hard for them, you earned them, so please spend them. And there's a link down at the bottom of this slide to the approved spending categories document. So the template that we reviewed earlier, as well as an additional guidance document that includes all of these links, are now posted on MassDEP's website. And there are also some sample policies there from other cities and towns that you could look at. There's an incredible amount of information out there, and we just really encourage you to explore it. If you have an existing policy that may meet the new guidelines, but you're not sure, please just reach out to us. If your city or town just passed a buy recycled policy and it's going to be difficult to introduce a whole new approval process, please just reach out to us. And if for any reason you think this is going to be a difficult criteria to meet, please, again, just reach out to us. My email is here. And then you can also always call your municipal assistance coordinator. Here are their districts and their contact info. And just to wrap up and talk about next steps, the next steps are to first review MassDEP's our template and our guidance. It's on the website. Customize your policy to fit your municipality's needs and goals, but really minimally, we are going to be looking for language about purchasing off the EPP Product and Services Index, a commitment to buying products with recycled content, and consideration of reuse and donation opportunities when possible. You can contact any of us if you have questions. And then finally, these new policies will be due June 30th, 2026. Again, that's almost a year from now, so hopefully it's enough time. Normally, in the past, the buy recycled policies, we've asked you to send out an annual notification to department heads or procurement staff, just reminding them that the policy exists and keeping it front of mind. And we've asked for that to be sent to us as part of the early prerequisite requirements for the SMRP grant. So it's been due to us on February 15th. That is not going to be the case this year. We will not ask for a notification for that email or memo, and we will not ask for an early submission. They will just be due around the time the grants are due on June 30th of next year. And that's all I have. And now hopefully we have plenty of time for questions, and I will stop sharing my screen if I can figure out how to do that.
Thanks, Becky. We did get some questions. I think some of this was answered already, and Agnes did provide some links in the chat as well as I did. You know, a lot of people are looking for some clear guidelines about exactly what DEP is expecting, and I think you had the language on the first couple, on Becky's first couple slides is like the exact language that we're asking. You can literally cut and paste it and then add your town name. So, and it's linked on our website and in the chat. So hopefully, like when people actually like open that and take a look at it, it's pretty clear what we're asking for. They also asked about the timeline, about when this is taking effect. I think you said June 30th of next year, so the end of this fiscal year. Trying to think. Yeah, I think we got everything.
People can certainly raise a hand if they need clarification or if any additional questions come up.
Okay, thank you for waiving the buyer cycled policy memo. So munis can focus on getting this new policy passed. I appreciate you tying the policies to waste, education, and climate. So yeah, I think there were some comments. There is one person that has their hand up. Amy Jackson, I can unmute. You can unmute.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, one of my questions was, could you point me to the directive that is in place that is asking us to do the policy update? Just I think it would make it easy for me to market it here to leadership.
It's a grant requirement, so it's not a directive. I will pasting. Yeah, you can go ahead.
I think the directive was something that Agnes talked about, and that's for executive branches in the state, not for cities or towns. So what we're asking is just to be eligible for grants to do this.
All right, thank you so much.
Right, that's probably the clarification. Yeah, because the state agencies are required to purchase off of these contracts, but the contracts are made available to cities and towns to enable more of this kind of purchasing. So that is a bit of a distinction, but we really encourage all of you to do this, and that's why we incorporated this and wanted to really beef up the requirement within the SMRP grant for next year. It's anyone who's participated in the SMRP grant so far already has some type of buy recycled policy. this expands it a bit and makes it a bit more comprehensive. And hopefully it's not too heavy a lift for any of you. I think it really makes sense within the context of what we're all trying to do together. So, and Agnes, I think from OSD's perspective, when I look at a few of the questions in the chat, there are resources online, but there's also like a local procurement contacts that communities could reach out to if they needed assistance navigating the website or combis. Is that true? Kind of.
Right, exactly. And I provided a link for that. That's the local government enablement team within the operational services division. They work directly with the municipalities, and they kind of present what's available under the statewide contracts. If municipalities have any issues in terms of making those purchases, they can directly contact the LGE team at OSD. And of course, we're also available to just coordinate things with the municipalities, our team, the Climate and Sustainability Unit at OSD.
Great. And we also know from our grant team that there, for communities that have earned the Recycling Dividends Program funds over time, and Becky mentioned this in her part of the presentation, there's a lot of money there that communities have. And we really encourage you to try some of these products if you haven't before. And try to develop some new practices. And if it's one or two things really just to get started, I think that can be really sensible and easy to do. Certainly janitorial products and some of the traffic cones and paper products, some of the other items that Becky suggested. And I know that there has been some interest in the reusable cafeteria trays, which are now on state contract. There are stainless steel trays. There are just so many options there. So this was really about bringing everyone's attention and energy back to this again, giving this a little bit of an injection of energy to move forward, and hope that this was helpful to all of you. And by all means, if anyone has questions, please raise your hand.
Yeah, we got a couple coming in here. The next question was that there's a concern with the change in requirement if there will be enforcement to keep track across all municipal departments. So I'm thinking like different, we ask the DPWs, generally Board of Health, to fill out these forms, but how can they keep track if other departments are doing this? I think that might be the question.
Jessica, are you asking whether we will be enforcing, whether DEP will be, or how you might do it internally, just to clarify, if you don't mind?
I guess the concern is that, like, are we going to be held responsible to holding these other departments responsible to make sure that they're following the new policy that's going to be set forth?
No. Certainly not at this point in time, and I'm not sure if we would ever, frankly, because that's not something you may be able to do. We understand that our points of contact with the waste reduction programs aren't necessarily in those positions or have the authority to really require that of others. But as a community, if the policy is in place, it really is about, as a community, making sure that they are aware of this, that there's a commitment made, and that wherever possible, we'd like to see communities go down this road. But we don't, from our perspective, there's no enforcement that we anticipate that we would expect of you.
Thank you.
If others, Rachel or Becky, have anything to add there, by all means, feel free to chime in.
I would just add one thing, is that the hope is that this would be something that would be passed by leadership in the town. And if it were passed by leadership, then, naturally, hopefully other departments in town would be following it. We understand every town and city is different and their decision-making mechanisms might be different. But just like your buy recycled policy, we would hope that those policies are being implemented across departments within your municipality. So again, like don't have enforcement power, but that's kind of the hope in making sure this is an impactful action.
Somebody asked about technical assistance for navigating through combis, and Agnes did post a link under buyer's resources. So as the municipality, you're you're the buyer of the products. So there are some resources there. Another question
If
that
I could
came.
just, if I could just mention that, yeah, there are a lot of resources on the Combis webpage, including some trainings for buyers, so you can sign up for those trainings. But municipalities are not required to purchase products through Combis. All you need to do is contact the vendors that are listed in the contract user guide and reference the contract number under which you're purchasing that product or service.
And is it fair to say, Agnes, in adding to that, that municipalities could also negotiate downward on pricing, like that? Any pricing within the state contract represents the highest price? I know that applies for some contracts. I'm not sure if that's a blanket thing.
I think it varies from contract to contract. So you'll have to go to the contract user guide and see what the requirements are for purchasing off of that particular contract. But generally, the kind of thought behind statewide contracts is kind of consolidating all of our purchasing power so that we can best negotiate the lowest price.
I'm just posting a rec link to the template in the chat. But again, if you go to the SMRP webpage, in addition to the template, it has like other information that will be helpful, some kind of like background resources and some examples. But somebody noted, this is kind of has to do with RDP spending. A lot of RDP money is managed by the health department. Is there a way to expand communication to municipal health departments? Procurement folks can only do so much. I think we might need help with the MACs to do that. I mean, we have our contact list and we will communicate a million times. So maybe it's just, we need help knowing like who we're missing, I guess.
Right. And part of the grant does require that communities would have some kind of dedicated account for the grant funds to go into. And coupled with that, there is an approved spending list. So that's a very substantial list of products and services related to waste reduction. We have I don't know exactly how many categories, 8 or so categories perhaps, but we have many, many options that communities can choose from in terms of spending the RDP money. So that certainly is an internal conversation, but if you think that the assistance of a MAC would be helpful in dialing in different officials, by all means, they're available. I know that when I was a MAC for many years, I found that in the region I served that purchasing was done, it was very decentralized. And I think it's going to vary by community, whether there's some kind of chief procurement. I mean, there's a chief procurement official in every community, but some have like someone who's managing it specifically, whereas in other communities, it might be department heads that are authorized to purchase, and that would be spread out and decentralized. And so that's part of why we, within our SMRP grant every year, we would require an annual notification go out from a chief elected official to all purchasing staff across the municipality so that they would be aware of that community's purchasing policy. That notification was about trying to get that information into the hands of all the different folks that do purchasing. So I'm not sure where Mary Delaney, where you're from, but we can certainly connect you with your MAC if you don't know your MAC and try to help you bridge that issue you may have. We have just a couple minutes left. Oh, it looks like I'll let you go back, Rachel. Someone's asking for a cost comparison.
Yeah, cost comparison. I don't know if we.
Yeah, actually, we do at OSD. I think we're on our website, we have the Leading by Examples cost comparison tool. I think it's for battery powered landscaping equipment. And there are some other tools that we have for like energy efficient products. So I can try to drop those into the chat, or maybe after this meeting, you guys can share them with the group.
Sure. Yeah,
Great.
we will definitely send an email out after this, like letting you know once everything is posted on the website, the recording and everything, so we can share links at the same time.
And I'm not sure if the climb group that you're going to bring together, Agnes, will look at this, but I suspect that for municipalities, this question made me think of it. If there are certain common products that are particularly cost effective and are purchased on a regular basis, and are recycled content or lower toxicity, those might be some that if we could maybe highlight and share with municipalities over time, I think that might be a helpful resource. You know, little snapshots of, hey, you know, did you know that purchasing this is less expensive than buying it virgin material, what have you, that sort of thing.
Yeah, no, for sure. So that group, I'm not leading that particular group, but they're going like creating the objective of what that group will work on. But that is one key piece, is going kind of doing a deep dive in some of the products and services that are available and offered under statewide contracts. And I believe usually the most cost-effective products are those that are the energy and the water efficiency products. So sometimes the upfront costs might be a little bit more, but the lifetime savings of energy efficient lighting or water efficient plumbing can really bring down the overall cost.
Very good. And that's a similar story for reusable foodware too, where the upfront cost might get our attention, but when you look at it over time, it actually is a much lower cost. Well, let's see if we have any final questions before we close.
I don't see any coming in.
Okay, well, thank you all very much for being here. And by all means, reach out if you have questions. You'll have plenty of time. You have resources here to get started and look at it closely and know who to contact if you have any questions along the way. But thank you all so much for being here, and have a great rest of the day. Okay.
Thank you.